The purpose of this video is to talk about altruism and pro-social behavior. Altruism is the desire to help another person, even if it involves a cost to the helper. Some people argue that altruism also means that there can also be no benefit to the helper.
Oh, PBS.
What's wrong with PBS?
Oh, what's right with them?
Why don't you like PBS, Phoebes?
Okay, because right after my mom killed herself, I was just in this really bad place, you know, personally. So, I just thought that it would make me feel better if I wrote to Sesame Street, because they were so nice when I was a little kid. No one ever wrote back.
Well, you know, a lot of those Muppets don't have thumbs.
All I got was a lousy keychain, and by that time I was living in a box. I didn't have keys.
I'm sorry, Phoebes. I just wanted to do a good deed, like you did with the babies.
This isn't a good deed. You just want to get on TV. This is totally selfish.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. What about you having those babies for your brother? Talk about selfish.
What are you talking about?
Well, yeah, it was a really nice thing and all, but it made you feel really good, right?
Yeah, so?
Well, it made you feel good, so that makes it selfish. Look, there's no unselfish good deeds, sorry.
Yes, there are. There are totally good deeds that are selfless.
Well, may I ask for one example?
Yeah, it's, you know, there's... No, you may not.
That's because all people are selfish.
Are you calling me selfish?
Are you calling you people? Yeah, well, sorry to burst that bubble, Phoebes, but selfless good deeds don't exist, okay? And you know the deal on Santa Claus, right?
I'm gonna find a selfless good deed. I'm gonna beat you, you evil genius.
But because psychologists don't want to be limited by that philosophical debate, you will mostly find psychologists talking about pro-social behavior instead of altruism. Pro-social behavior is any act performed with the goal of benefiting another person. You can act in a pro-social way out of self-interest. But it is still an interesting empirical question whether people ever do act pro-socially when there is no benefit to themselves. Are there situations or types of people that are genuinely altruistic? Some researchers have proposed an empathy-altruism hypothesis. This states that when we feel empathy, we will help the other person for purely altruistic reasons. In other words, we will help regardless of whether we have anything to personally gain. Batson and colleagues investigated this possibility in 2004. Imagine you were told about the following situation when you completed a study through Sona. You walk into the lab, and the researchers ask you to listen to a news broadcast about someone named Katie who attends UNF. Her parents have just died in an automobile crash, but they were not insured, and now Katie has to support herself and her two younger siblings all by herself while she finishes the last year of university. If she doesn't finish, she won't be able to earn enough money to keep her family together. Her brother and sister will be put in foster care. Now, you were given two envelopes, and the first is a letter from Katie's professor that says the radio station is looking for donations to support Katie. Katie has written a personal letter that could be sent to potential donors, but she doesn't have the time to put them in envelopes and mail them. Students could help Katie by spending several hours during the next week stuffing envelopes. Before making a decision, half of participants were told to take the perspective of Katie. How is she feeling? How is all of this affecting her? Imagine how she feels. The other half of participants were told to take an objective perspective about what happened to Katie and how it affected her life. They were told to not let themselves get caught up in imagining what she is going through and how she feels. To be objective, in other words. That's the first IV, empathy, but there was also a second IV, feedback. The purpose of this IV was to manipulate whether participants would personally gain just by learning about how they helped Katie or not. Half of the participants were told that they would never learn what happened to Katie. Half were told that Katie would write them a letter letting them know how her life was improved. Participants in the no feedback condition, these are what are arguably altruistic conditions, if they help, they are doing so with no expectation of thanks from Katie. Meanwhile, participants in the feedback conditions, these are arguably just pro-social conditions. They do expect to get some sort of thanks for their efforts. In the altruistic conditions, participants that were instructed to empathize with Katie were much more likely to help. But in the pro-social conditions, empathizing with Katie didn't influence whether people helped or not. So empathizing with someone does increase our likelihood of helping them, but only in altruistic situations. If we have other reasons to help, self-interested reasons, then empathy doesn't matter. After 9/11, there were many reasons to help, and everyone did. But people high in empathy were more likely to help, especially 1 year later. After a year had passed, many of the non-altruistic reasons for helping had gone away, and it was really just those people high in empathy that continued to help.